Welcome, Mr. Walters. Looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here in East Gwillimbury to present to Committee of the Whole, staff, and members of the public. So, see if I can get this thing to work. So we've been involved in the Upper York Sewage Solution environmental assessment since 2010. We've involved a multidisciplinary team, so there's a lot more people than just myself involved, Director of Planning and Development Services. We have PhDs involved in the aquatic side and the water quality side, as well as water quantity hydrologists and water quality specialists. So our focus has primarily been looking at the two options that were first presented. The first option was the rebuilding of a new tunnel all the way down to the Dufferins Creek sewage treatment plant for discharge to Lake Ontario. The second option, which is a more innovative option and is the preferred option by York Region, is looking at a local treatment plant, but an innovative treatment facility which would look at advanced technology and water reuse. So why the Lake Simcoe solution? We were involved in looking at both. First of all, it's the least disruptive to the natural heritage features. You can imagine building a tunnel all the way down to Lake Ontario. You're going to have to cross a lot of features, especially the Oak Ridges Moraine. There's been some recent projects undertaken by the region, and they've had some significant impacts on groundwater resources and natural heritage features. The innovative approach will actually improve the water balance because it keeps the water, instead of taking water that's coming out of the ground primarily and shipping it down to Lake Ontario, it keeps that water within the basin where it's needed. And the water reuse can potentially solve a lot of issues. These areas are, based on our studies with source water protection, water-stressed areas. So in the future, there's going to be concerns over water supply. So by, again, looking at the water reuse options, it provides an opportunity for those people within the East Holland and potentially the Maskinaj River to get a cheap source of very, very clean water. And the showcasing of the technology, this is a plant that will be the first of its kind in all of Canada. If not, it's one of the best plants proposed that we've seen within the entire world. And it's a more sustainable solution. So the current issues to address, the authorities looked at this very focused based on the environmental impacts. The first impact will be on water quality to the East Holland River and Lake Simcoe. The second one would be looking at water quantity impacts, again, on both the river and the lake. And the effect that the impacts will have on the aquatic ecosystem, which is the real end user of the water. So from a water quality point of view, I wanted to back up and look at this sort of in context. There's 15 waste management facilities within the watershed, so 15 sewage treatment plants. 14 are municipal, 1 is private. 7 discharge directly into the lake, the other 8 discharge into water courses which drain into the lake. And the operation of all of these facilities is closely monitored and regulated by the Ministry of Environment. If you look at the phosphorus inputs from these sources, they're relatively small compared to the total load. We're looking at 7% or 5 tons per year. You can see by the pie chart here, there's some other more significant sources. The watershed streams, which is non-point source, it's runoff from urban areas and agricultural areas. You've got atmospheric deposition, septic systems, and the Holland Marsh polders. So overall, when you look at, this is the list of all of the sewage treatment plants combined that provide their effluent. The Queensville Hall Landing right now is only allowed to discharge, and this is the lagoon system, 149 kilograms per year. Under the new certificate of approval that MOE is going to allow because of the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, that has to be brought down to 124 kilograms per year. If you look at the contribution from the center, it's sewage treatment plants. This will be about 3% of the total sewage treatment plant load, but only 0.3 of the total phosphorus load going into Lake Simcoe. So when this is built, this is going to have a very minimal impact on the phosphorus load entering Lake Simcoe. There is an issue associated with the plant, and we're not trying to hide this. We've been very transparent and open about this. The plant itself Even with this best technology, it cannot get down to 124. That would be impossible with the population it has to service. It will be discharging 224 kilograms per year. The Ministry of Environment has given the municipality the ability to trade for 100 kilograms of phosphorus. And what does that mean? It essentially means that the region is going to have to find 100 kilograms of phosphorus from other sources and reduce that before the plant can be built. And it's not going to be just the 100. There's going to be a ratio applied, so there's a net benefit associated with this activity. We know exactly what the plant's going to discharge. If you go out and you fix some of these, we call them non-point source inputs, like cattle that have access to a stream, or somebody who's got a bad septic system, it's much, much harder to monitor the benefit associated with those. So the ministry has applied a ratio, which has yet to be determined. The minimum it'll be is 2 to 1, the maximum probably around 4 to 1. So if you use the 4 to 1, that means that for the 100 kilograms they're going to discharge, they have to reduce 400 kilograms from somewhere else within the watershed. So then there's a net benefit of 300 kilograms going into the lake. So overall, that means that there would be a benefit, a reduction in the actual total load. So that's the lake. What about the river? Well, the river itself, unfortunately, it's one of the most degraded water systems in our watershed. And that's because there's so much human activity within this area that for years we've been discharging polluted water either from agricultural or from urban areas. So we've done a lot of work on the East Holland. We have a sub-watershed plan. This municipality's a partner in the implementation of that. So we've put a lot of activity and work into this river. So we have a vested interest in what's going to happen there, obviously. So from 2007 to 2009, the average concentration of phosphorus within the river was 0.14 milligrams per liter. By itself, it doesn't seem like much, but where it's important, it's 5 times the provincial water quality objective, almost 5 times that. So the water quality, why should we allow the region to discharge more water? Well, number one, they're going to reduce the load, but they're actually also, there's going to be a net benefit associated with the plant. And the benefit is going to come through a factor called dilution. So the water quality treatment of the water coming out of this plant is going to be extremely good. The concentration that they're basing their discharge on right now is 0.015 milligrams per liter. So that's a lot lower. That's half of the provincial water quality objective already. You add that into the river, and what happens is because of it's so low, the volume of water actually creates a dilution effect, and you see the concentration of phosphorus go down within the river. So the net result is improved water quality, especially during the summer months. And that's a time period when people are out recreating on the river a lot, and that's when we see most of the algae blooms and the aquatic plant growth start to occur. So there'll be a net benefit associated with the activity. And the improvement really is dramatic depending upon, as I said, the seasonality. So it can be anywhere upwards of 80% in the summer and as low as just 3 or 4 or 5% in the winter. But it's going to be an improvement period overall within the river. One of the big concerns that we've heard, and our board of directors asked us to look at this, was the pharmaceuticals personal care products. Right off the bat, this is the definition. I've got it from the US EPA because they've done the most work on this. They're well ahead of us with respect to research on pharmaceuticals. Any product used by an individual person for health or cosmetic reason, or used by the agribusiness to enhance growth or health of livestock. So essentially, they're a very diverse collection. There's thousands and thousands of chemical substances out there. Some are prescription, some are over the counter. So sunblock, for example, is considered a personal care product. So you put it on, you jump in the water.